the Chi-Town Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
All I have to say is that the Chicago Bears are in serious trouble. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Bears fans, before we go any further with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. As always, Bears fans, you guys can head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000 and also get 125% second and third deposits as well. Just because the Bears season is officially over, you guys can still place your bets on other team. All you have to do is use promo code YouTube150 to receive your 150% deposit bonus. All right, Bears fans, we have to have a long and serious conversation about our Chicago Bears. Because what the hell are we even doing? What are the Chicago Bears doing right now? They just had their exit, press conferences today. We heard from Ryan Poles, we heard from Kevin Warren, and we heard from our Lord and Savior, George McCaskey. First and foremost, let's talk about, Ryan Poles and the head coaching search. It's good to hear that Ryan Poles will be on the forefront, I guess, of, the head coaching search. The decision will be up to him. Obviously, he won't be the only one in these interviews. It'll be him, the HR lady, it'll be Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, unfortunately, will be a part of this interview as well. Even though I don't know why, I just have a different feeling about George McCaskey being involved in football operation stuff. I understand he is the owner, but I just get a weird feeling whenever he is a part of the interview process or anything football operation related in terms of the Chicago Bears. But first and foremost, let's talk about this wide cast of, applicants and, that they're looking at right now for their next Chicago Bears head coach. Right now, the list sits at a heavy 13 candidates. So you look at Ben Johnson, Eric Glenn, Vance Joseph, Drew Petzing, Mike Kafka, Brian Flores, Mike McCarthy, if the Cowboys give us permission to speak to him, Todd Monken, Arthur Smith, David Shaw, Joe Brady, Mike Vrabel, and Anthony Weaver. Chicago Bears. What the hell are we doing here? Are we casting for America's Got Talent? Are we casting for American Idol? I understand they're trying to do like that no stone unturned, right? They're trying to, have a wide range of possibilities, looking at DC backgrounds, offensive backgrounds, coaches with experience. You have Mike Vrabel and Mike McCarthy as well, all that good stuff. I understand what they're trying to do, but we don't need to interview 13 people. Right? For me, I think it's very simple. If I had to really look at this list, I can reduce it probably down to 5 to 6 names. I would interview Ben Johnson. I would interview Mike Vrabel. I would interview Joe Brady. I would be interested to hear from Mike McCarthy as well. I would love to hear from Todd Monken, and I would love to hear from Cliff Kingsbury. That's 5 to 6 names that I guess makes sense. But at the end of the day, we all know if the Chicago Bears are a smart organization, it should come down to 2 names, and that's Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson. You either want a first-year head coach, the hot offensive coordinator name from the Detroit Lions, and Ben Johnson to help Caleb Williams, or you want the coach with experience in Mike Vrabel that will instill a different type of culture. He would turn the culture around here in Chicago. So to me, it comes down to 2 names. And I understand they're trying to be really thorough in their process. But once again, we are not casting for fucking America's Got Talent here. We have 13 names. Who gives a damn about Anthony Weaver? Who gives a damn about David Shaw? Who gives a damn about Vance Joseph? Those guys are not going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. And if they are the next head coach of the Chicago Bears, they have no effing idea what they're doing here. The list should be way smaller, way smaller. But to me, and I think all Bears fans can agree here, it comes down to Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson. And I think it's that simple. Once again, if they want to go through their thorough process, they're trying to make sure they don't mess this up, and I appreciate that. But 13 names, 13 interviews is a little bit steep for me, and that is just my personal opinion. But now let's go ahead and talk about the exit press conference from Ryan Poles, because I'm going to sit here and support him because I have to, because I'm a Bears fan. That's what we are supposed to do. But my confidence level with Ryan Poles is at an all-time low. He seemed like he was pretty motivated. He took some accountability. He said, hey, I hold myself accountable for the shortcoming of the Chicago Bears. But at the same time, I think with Ryan Poles or anything related to the Chicago Bears, we have to use the phrase, actions speak louder than words. Bears fans, we need to see it from the Chicago Bears organization before we believe it. We've seen this story before. Just a couple of years ago, Ryan Poles says, hey, I hold myself accountable. And look where we're at. We're 3 years down the road. He has a 15-36 record as Chicago Bears GM. We are still seeing the same problems in terms of head coaching, find a new head coach. We're still seeing the same problems in the trenches. And we're still seeing the same exact problems with the Chicago Bears culture as well. So when I look at Ryan Poles or anything related to the Chicago Bears organization, I have to see it to believe it. Actions speak louder than words. But once again, Ryan Poles says, hey, I hold myself accountable for all the shortcomings of the Chicago Bears. But then Bears insider Dan Wiederer asked him about what Caleb had to deal with in his rookie year, the disruptions and stress he had to go through, talking about multiple offensive coordinators, multiple head coaches, the dysfunction with the offensive line and the shuffling of the offensive line. And Poles questioned him by saying, what were those? Like Ryan Poles was clueless with what Caleb Williams had to go through in his rookie year. Ryan Poles, don't you remember that stat where Caleb Williams got sacked 67 times? I understand we can make an argument that all those sacks weren't on the Bears offensive line, but Caleb Williams got sacked 67 times this season, 9 sacks short of the NFL record 76. And you're over here saying, oh, what disruptions were those? Did you forget about the multiple offensive coordinators? A guy that you helped hire with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron? Did you forget about the multiple head coaches? Are you just blind to the fact? So you are sitting here saying, I hold myself accountable, but it would have been really nice for Ryan Poles to say, hey, I hold myself accountable, but hey, I understand the shortcomings of the offensive line. I understand the shortcomings of not finding a good head coach or OC. I didn't do enough to put Caleb Williams or the rest of the players on this roster in a good situation to succeed. I would have loved to hear that from Ryan Poles. That is how you hold yourself accountable. Right? And I understand a lot of people say, well, you don't want to just throw players under the bus. You don't have to list names when you're throwing players under the bus. You could still say, hey, as a unit, as an offensive line, we didn't play good enough this year. That is on me. I didn't put Caleb Williams in a position to succeed because the offensive line wasn't up to par. That is okay. You are not calling out any certain players, but you are calling out a unit. To me, sometimes Ryan Poles lacks that awareness. He lacks that toughness. And I understand, you've seen clips of, when he had to cut players, him shedding tears and stuff. And I guess that's okay because you make a strong connection to these players. But you have to understand that you are the leader of this football team. You are the forefront of football operations. I need to see a little bit more toughness, a little bit more sternness from Ryan Poles. Once again, we are going to be forced to sit here with Ryan Poles for at least one more year. But I still get the feeling that Ryan Poles is kind of like this lame duck GM at the moment. And the reason why I say this is because when you talk to people like Kevin Warren, he said it, and of course with George McCaskey, there's like this secrecy about his contract extension. Is he going to be extended? Is he not? So if he's not going to be extended, there's really no alignment with that new head coach and Ryan Poles to this day. You were telling me that Ryan Poles is basically going to be on a 1-year contract, and he technically makes him a lame duck GM. I just don't understand the constant dysfunction that is the Chicago Bears. But with Ryan Poles, I would have loved to see him hold himself more accountable. And you can't just say, hey, I hold myself accountable. Give the reasons of your shortcomings. But by him saying and questioning a Bears insider about the shortcomings of Caleb Williams and what Caleb Williams had to go through this year with the multiple OCs and head coaches and the offensive line shuffling, and he just discounts that left a salty taste in my mouth when I'm talking about Ryan Poles. Now moving on to George McCaskey, right? George McCaskey also talked to the media. I told you that I'm kind of feeling uneasy about him sitting in on the head coaching interviews. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Keek, he is the owner of the Chicago Bears. But at the same time, if you don't want to be a part of football operations, you just want to be a fan, stay out of it and just write the checks. You're the one that has the money. Write the checks. Whoever the Chicago Bears want, meaning Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, whoever they choose as head coach, they come to you and said, hey, we're hiring Mike Vrabel, or we're hiring Ben Johnson, or someone else. You agree, you shut up, you listen, you write the check, and you move on. But that's either that's just their option. Whatever. He wants to be part of interviews, that's on them. But George McCaskey, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the dysfunction. This is what really bothered me in a quote that really stuck with me with George McCaskey. George McCaskey was asked if the contractual alignment between the GM and head coach is important. He responded with this: I don't think that's a factor. So you don't think Ryan Poles having alignment with Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, or your new head coach, a part of your organization, is a factor? I think that is a huge factor. I think that's going to scare people like Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson away. If you do not believe that's a factor, you're going to end up with Drew Petzing. You're going to end up with Mike Kafka, right, as your next head coach. You're going to end up with Anthony Weaver, because those are going to be the only coaches that probably don't care about that dysfunction or that alignment. But if you want to land a big-time head coach like Vrabel or Ben Johnson, you better care about the alignment between your GM and head coach. You can't hire a coach to a 3 or 4 year deal and then only extend your GM to a 1 year deal, because then once again, that makes Ryan Poles a lame duck general manager. Bears fans, we are doomed. We are doomed. And like I said, I'm going to sit here and try to have faith and belief in Ryan Poles. But this press conference didn't give me any belief or in the direction of this organization. I think it's good that we have some core players like Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Jalen Johnson, Javon Dexter, Darnell Wright, and the list goes on and on. But I just don't trust this approach that the Chicago Bears are currently taking. I think they're just making it more difficult than it needs to be. We have to let this process play out. Once again, we have 13 or 12 to 13 requested interviews. It could be 13 if the Dallas Cowboys give us permission to speak to Mike McCarthy. But we're going to have to just wait and see. To me, I think it's very simple. You hire either Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson to come in and be that leader that you're looking for, to hopefully change the culture, to help elevate Caleb Williams, all that good stuff. But beyond that, I just need, guys like, Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. And I know McCaskey, talked about being accountable for the Bears, shortcomings as well. But I need them to take more accountability in this. And once again, you just have to go out there and do it at this point. Until they can show us that they can build a winning culture, get the head coaching hire right, build the trenches the right way, and just get the Chicago Bears back to winning ways. I guess we're going to have this cautiously optimistic belief in the Chicago Bears. But like I said, we just got to see it to believe it. And once again, actions always speak louder than words. So Bears fans, as always, go ahead and comment down below in the comment section how you're feeling about Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, and the Chicago Bears organization. I cannot wait to hear from you guys. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. And Bears fans, make sure once again you guys head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000, and also get 125% second and third deposits as well. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic.